Hello, everybody. Grant Hunter here with another Product Growth Leaders topic of the week. You know, everybody who participates or listens to this call knows that Steve has a thing about sales, right? And it's pretty well known. Yet when I asked Steve for his advice on the topic this week, do you know what he said? He said sales. And so we decided to make it, instead of what's wrong with sales in this sort of, rant way, we decided, how about we talk about collaboration with sales? How can we collaborate and partner? We've got this new leaf this year where we're focused on, product management as this enabler of the organization, and we have to collaborate with sales just like we collaborate with design and development and marketing and leadership and those types of things. So we went with product management collaboration. We've got a great panel today. Of course, my friend and partner Steve Johnson's with us. Some of our stars like Wong, Jason Vincelette, Paul Hurwitz, Cory Bryan, and we've got two new people today, Deepro Basu and Faith Peterson. Welcome to the panel. And we can't wait to hear your 2 cents or 4 or 10 cents on product management collaborating with sales. So you guys ready to get started? All right, let's go. So on Monday, I put the question in there. What is the best way for product management to build strong collaboration with sales? And who was the first person to respond? Wasn't Jason, wasn't Cory or Paul or May or Deepro or Faith. It was Steve. Steve, you were the first person to, actually, what you need to know is he responded with that answer the night before when we determined the question. He goes, oh, wait, maybe I should wait to do that tomorrow.
No, I was inspired to kick things off on a Monday morning. So
with a tell them to shut the hell up and we'll just sell what we already have.
That's collaboration.
Well, Steve, you did come back with a better.
Yes,
better is the wrong word. You said a more serious answer. Use your product management skills. What problems you have? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, it's funny the number of times on these calls where we realize that we need to use our product management skills in more than product. I mean, understanding the problem you're trying to solve, right? So, understanding the persona and their problem, I guess, is the bottom line. So if you put on your product management hat and say, okay, what's going on here? It could be that the sales guys are going out and trying to sell this thing, and the customers are saying, well, that's 50% of what I want. What I really want is this other thing. And they go, oh, that's easy. I can just have the developers work on that over the weekend. I mean, it's not that hard. I've never written code, but I'm sure it must be easy, right? So I think there are lots of ways that if we put ourselves in our sales colleagues' shoes, we'd see that maybe we haven't given them the right product, or more likely maybe they are uninformed about the product's capabilities. And I have always ranted in favor of sales towards product managers that if it's in your head or on your hard drive, then no wonder they have to call you all the time. Right. So, what are the questions that we want to ask to find out if the client actually needs our product, and what sales enablement tools and what customer enablement tools can we produce so that we're not involved in every sale?
I completely and totally agree. Graham Rose had followed up to your first answer. What Steve said, plus be transparent with the product process, teaching them over again. Paul Hatala said communication, motivation, value. And Deepro, you came in next. You talked about transparency, candidness, and improving sales enablement if that's lacking. Let me get your thoughts on that.
What I had in mind was, obviously a lot of, very valid statements ahead of me, but then the one thing that I really found helpful from the collaboration that came out was specifically in the platform play space. And my products were, we had channel sales and all that kind of stuff. And then when I think of sales, it was not just my immediate sales partners, but also my extended sales community. And so I picked up lots of insights and intel from them. And then one classic example was like, we were trying to build like an Outlook integration and a Gmail integration and and all that kind of stuff. And then we had partner players, extended sales community, who were like, no, we, our extended market uses this and that and whatnot already. So then I took it back to dev, and they go, yeah, like it's easy for us to just build APIs with them and be done, and check. We move on to newer stuff, and that's fantastic. I wouldn't have known that unless I had the conversation with them. So I think that was super useful in my scenario.
I love that. Jason, you said fully understand the sales process and what stresses salespeople out. That's sort of along the where's the problems, but talk to me about your implementation of that.
Yeah, this one's hard because there's a lot of things I do to kind of help with the collaboration with sales. And I think, it's building trust, and trust is a two-way street as well. But, for me, it's understanding, what sales needs to know, what their challenges are with what they don't know with the product. And it goes back to what people have said regarding providing the proper artifacts and tools to the salespeople. My salespeople tend to ask me more about what our differentiators are, because that's when they're with their customers, that the customers or prospects ask, like, what makes you different? And so, as product management, we kind of have to go into our positioning again, which I know is product marketing's job, but sales still comes to product management and not product marketing for these things,
And product marketing, Steve and I sees product marketing as part of the product management triad.
Okay, so part of the, yeah. So I think, being explicit what differentiators are, where the strengths are, what are some pitfalls to avoid, how to talk around, or, around maybe things that you have that are lacking, and how to explain those, and really how to go to the value proposition of what the customers will have by having your solution in place, and just being there for salespeople for that. I mean, the best thing you can do is have the right utilities, but sales is, they always have so many PowerPoints and documents to read and all that. So they still need sort of, I would say, a relationship with product management. And so I've always been happy to work with them on that and enable them to do the job versus doing the job for them.
I completely and totally. There was a post on Twitter, and this topic didn't come from a Twitter rant I had, which the past few weeks have, but there was somebody who's very well followed on Twitter talked about how important it is for the product manager to show the salespeople they can give a good demo. I said, no, we want to enable them to do demos. We want to enable the sales engineer. I said the product manager's job is to partner with a sales engineer to help them give a great demo. And, it's not about us doing it. It's about us enabling them to do it. So I love that the language you had there.
And let me jump on that one just for a second, and that may even be rant worthy here, but I was working with a team in Minneapolis, and they had a new VP who was trying to build up the reputation of the product management team. So he had all the product managers interviewed on video about their background and their areas of expertise and the products that they had, and they sent them out to all the salespeople. And two things came back that didn't surprise me in the slightest. One was every sales guy wanted to start taking those product managers on sales calls. And secondly, they wanted to know if they could distribute these internal documents, these internal videos to their customer base. But because they were inside the firewall, they couldn't distribute them. And it just struck me as just the classic perfect storm of best intentions, but anything you give to sales is gonna be distributed, and they're effectively teaching bad behavior to the sales team.
At first, I thought you were going to say it became like the dating game. They could choose which product manager stuff they wanted to sell based on their video.
To that point, I mean, I in early days I would do like sales training and do a demo, and sure enough, people would go, "Man, that guy's good. I'm going to take him on every call." So once
Yeah.
I heard that a few times, I went, wait a minute, I'm going to have the sales engineer do the demo so that they know who they're supposed to go to for a good demo. Better to train the sales engineering group to do their job than to show them up by doing it better.
I completely and totally agree. And although I've learned a lot of that from you, but while we're on the topic of ranting about things that can go wrong with sales, Cory, your answer was, I don't have anything worthwhile to share on this topic. I mean,
because I don't understand, and I've never been successful with getting a sales and product organization to work together collaboratively, well, toward the same end goal. It's just every time I've tried it, it's failed, because I think the bottom line is we were not aligned on what we were trying to achieve as a company, and sales was going in one direction and product was going in a different direction. So if I had one thing to try that helps me understand, or is this going to be a problem, is what are sales incentives, what are their goals, and what are products incentives, and what are product goals. And if those things are in different directions, if we're headed to the beach and the mountains and we're not going to the same place, it's not going to work no matter what all we try to do.
It's interesting. I had a conversation with a client a week ago, and we were talking about, their salespeople are selling stuff and they keep throwing stuff in, which is making the deals unprofitable. And I said, he's like, how do we deal with that? I said, can I ask a question? I said, are your salespeople comped on top line or profit? He goes, top line. I said, change. And this is an executive. I'm like, change their commission to be based on profit of the deal. Right. When I was at GE, I had a situation where we had that. My team, product management, was really vendor management was called, because we were distribution. We were comped on our bonuses were based on the profitability of the business, and the sales team's bonuses were on top line. And then they kept wanting to give stuff away. Sorry, I don't know if the FAA does my podcast, right? But they wanted to give stuff away. And I think that's the key thing is, first, you have to have them on the same page, competing for the same goal, right? And that's the first place for alignment. Faith, you've been listening a little quietly, patiently. I wanted to, get your thoughts so far, not on this format or Cory not having anything to say, because we know he does about everything, but, on what's the best way for product management to build strong collaboration with sales.
I wish I had a good idea or a tip to offer. And I think the best takeaway I have so far is maybe to try to cultivate an air like Cory of being somebody who has things to say that are worth saying, but that doesn't say them. So that's my takeaway. I'm going to work on that as a personal growth opportunity. A lot of the things people are saying is resonating with me, and some of this is coming home to me recently in a way that it really hasn't before. Before my current role, I had been more of a internal facing, more of a technical product owner, filling that kind of a role. And my current role does have more interaction with our customer success team and our sales team. And we're recently rolling out a new feature, and our CEO wanted a whole, we're a small company. Our CEO wanted a whole, go-to-market plan. Like, what's the launch plan? How are we going to roll this out? And so, I really worked more closely with sales than previously. And then I'm working on another new feature that's coming up, and I wanted to get input from some of our customer-facing people. And I guess the one thing I observed is that our folks in sales, our customer-facing folks, and this might just be our team, but they're just so booked and so focused on engaging particular stakeholders or prospects and having those conversations, and they're kind of really just engaged in pumping that volume, scheduling meetings, scheduling demos, scheduling the follow-ups, getting it done, that often I think it's not that they don't necessarily want to support product or collaborate with product, but it's that they have their own thing that they're doing, and nothing that makes them successful, at least in the way our company measures success for them, requires them or motivates them or incentivizes them to become experts in the product. Like, there's certain things that they know that they're supposed to say. They have discovery questions they know they're supposed to ask. And if you say yes, then we should tell you about this feature and so forth.
They're programmed.
I think, yeah, I think a lot of what's been coming back to me, and I've been looking into jobs to be done, that framework lately, and I'm seeing more about, like, how can I as a product manager be more clear about identifying what the marketing messages are? Like, what is the linkage to the unmet need, and what are the marketing messages you can put out there? And that's what has my attention right now, where I have seen it backfire where I didn't do a good enough job sharing what the linkage is between the feature that we're trying to do versus what the business goals are versus what they are trying to sell. And so I think that's something I'm trying to pay more attention to doing up, like, early. Like, here's a need, it's on our roadmap for reasons, because the business thinks it matters, because we have customer feedback, whatever. And now we're going to take it up, but now everybody kind of needs to be reminded why we decided to do it and how it came to our attention in the first place and what the benefits are going to be, and how you can sell it. Like, here are some words you can say, let these words come out of your mouth. And I was not prepared for that. I kind of thought in my mind somehow, I thought that salespeople should be good at that. Salespeople should be good at understanding the product and understanding how to come up with the language to sell it. And it's a little bit of a surprise to me to find that, at least in my situation, that's not really true. And I'm happy to do it, but I was a little bit taken by surprise by the need to do it. I don't know if that makes sense for anyone else, but that's kind of my recent experience.
First and foremost, for somebody who said they'd have to learn how to have an opinion and share it, you did a pretty damn good job.
Oh, no, I said, well, I need to learn how to have an opinion and not share it. Then I'd be channeling Cory.
Okay, my mistake.
I want to jump on something that Faith said in a supportive way. It is a hiring profile. I mean, in the early days of a company, maybe you do hire technical salespeople who really understand the industry and the domain. But as a company matures, we end up hiring more people who are sales professionals as opposed to technology professionals. And so there is an expectation that you're going to give them language, or marketing is going to give them scripts, or there's going to be, here's 3 email templates for you to use on your first 3 whatevers, right? And whether that's product marketing laying out the buying process, or marketing doing it, or maybe sales ops doing it, but ultimately that's where we end up is sales teams who are sales professionals as opposed to technologists. And yet what that really means, and here is kind of where I was trying to go, that is your job to figure out what words to say. And the only way you can get there is by visiting customers without a sales objective. And now we run into a conflict, right? The sales guys say, you can't visit my customers. And then they say, what should I say to my customers? And you're like, well, dude, how would I know? You won't let me visit them. And they're like, yeah, so just, make it up, right? I'm on full rant mode here real quick, but fundamentally, we can't do product management if we can't visit clients. So that's one part. But the other part is, they were hired to sell stuff. They weren't hired to tell us about the market. They weren't hired to validate. It's really amazing when you think of all the things that corporate asks of sales, none of which is helping them make club, which is their objective.
Yeah. No, I completely
Rant
totally
off.
get it. Cory, I'm gonna give you, if it's quick, I can give it to you. I do need to get to Paul
It's very quick. There's a message that Caitlin Burgoyne has said, and she says in a different context that I've adapted to most contexts, and it includes sales especially, which is who's the closest to your customers. If it's sales, they're going to win. If it's product, you're going to win. If sales is closer to your customers than you are, or to Steve's point, and I've been in the situation where you're not allowed to talk to the customers because account reps have to do it, the sales reps have to do it, because that's relationship, and that's the more important relationship. I don't think you can win.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love that context. And can you put that quote in the chat, who it is? Because I'd like to
Yep.
do some more reading from her. Paul Hurwitz, you said make the sales team, make sure they have what they need, insight to the roadmap, tools to accomplish. Talk to me about that.
So it's a lot of what some of the other people have already said so far. Communications, making sure they know what's going on, helping them, enabling them with the tools that they need to do the sales that they need, and really being a resource to try and teach them what they need to know about the product so that they can effectively sell it. To Steve's point, or was it Cory? I think it was Steve's point of a salesperson versus a technologist. If they're not a technologist and they're a salesperson, try and help them by educating them to know about the technology that they're selling. The rest of my comment was more around, there's always going to be the sales teams that Cory has had experience with, and learn to understand their quirks and learn to understand how they operate so that you can most efficiently manipulate and operate around them. Like I said, and a number of you have already heard me talk about Kevin. But Kevin is that sales guy who's always sells the bad deals that never should have been sold, but he's a sales guy, not a technologist. He was just selling something to make his commission, not to solve a problem. So it's not a great fit for the product, and they end up being the product manager's problem or the customer success person's or the support team's problems because it's not doing what they wanted it to do. So there's always going to be those kind of sales guys. So you really just have to learn to expect them and to work around them.
And yet, in fairness to Kevin, the world's worst salesperson, the company didn't have to take the contract, right? The company is rewarding this behavior. And I may have ranted on this once before, but I used to work for I used to work for a president who came out of sales, and we went through a strategy meeting and said, we're going to focus all of our energies on this vertical. And I said to the president, I have no confidence in the salespeople's ability to focus on the vertical. And so he announced it all to the sales team and said, oh, by the way, you only receive commissions for deals within this vertical. And strangely, we did not have any weird deals come in because the commission plan told them what to do.
No, they are coin operated sometimes is a facetious term we use, but they are. And if we can understand that, and if we can get leadership to lead with that, back to the client I talked about who had sales throwing things in for free, it's, how do you change that behavior? You comp them on profit, not on top line, because, they're just throwing that stuff in to get it. May, you said, speaking from your product marketing and sales ops experience, so which puts you in a unique place that you actually have a little more, direct engagement with sales than some of us in sales ops. Most salespeople want to be equipped to make the sale and handle objections. Talk to me about your take.
So I think there's a couple of themes here in all of the conversations we've had. So one is how much involvement do product people get into when it comes to sales calls, but the other one is also what sales needs to be successful. And I think in both cases, I would like to point out the importance, like the critical role of product marketing. And this comes back to actually like the first time I saw Steve talk, and he's talking about the role of product managers, and we focus on the problem space versus the the solution space, or like market focus versus customer focus. And so for us as product managers, we're thinking about things across the market, whereas sales are very, one customer at a time, or a small block of customers at a time. And these are their very, very specific needs. And so I think where product marketing comes in is, like, if you think about all of the things product managers are being asked to do, having a product marketer, especially in a larger organization, start focusing in on this very unique space, but also how we make all of our money is absolutely critical. So a lot of the time when sales goes and sells something weird, most of the time it's because they feel like they don't have anything to talk about, because product marketing doesn't exist, or they don't have battle cards, they don't have anything to say. All they know is our competitors have this and we don't have it, so therefore we're not good enough, so therefore we got to promise what our competitors have. So I think changing that narrative, understanding your product positioning, crafting that messaging with product marketing is a very important part of product management.
It's interesting. You nailed some stuff there that it made me think back to the conversation I had yesterday. I am of the belief that it all starts upstream, right? If we don't define and understand the right target market segment persona and understand the differentiation they value in us, and then build that into our positioning and messaging, and also into how we solve the problem in the product, so all of a sudden the collaboration, the best way to collaborate with sales is to make sure we do our job, right? If we make sure that we're doing market focused segmentation that's based on urgent problems that are, vital for the buyer to solve, valuable for the user, and are viable for our business, that's our job, right? And if we do it well, and if we understand and define this, I was talking with a peer of mine who in a networking group that they do mergers and acquisitions. They're a sell side. They work with, we're the sell side people for entrepreneurs. And I'm like, okay, how does that help? And then he went and talked about why they're good and why the people love them. I'm like, okay, you're the sell side firm for entrepreneurs who care what happens to the company after they sell it, right? They have a process that makes sure that people are taken care of. There's like 3 or 4 unique things for them compared to other sell side agencies. And if we as product management, now I know that's a little amorphous to talk about product management with it, but everybody has a product, right? If we're not building into the product and our positioning and messaging this uniqueness about us, our differentiation that helps us gain competitive advantage, what are we doing? And so I'll say the best way we can do it is to do our job, and then yes, communicate and enable them. Deepro.
I am 100% behind what May just said. And most recent experience was, and this was an acquired mid-market product by a larger enterprise. And somehow top leadership was under the impression that once we put a brand behind the thing, it's going to sell on its own. So, pack it up with smart salespeople and they can just sell it. And they did sell it, and they did sell it more than what they had sold previously. But they started running into friction around the mid-market buying because it's a complete different ball game. So where I found success was and I really sat down with them and tried to understand, why is it how can I help? Just be candid. And they started opening up, and they basically said, look, we are given the tools, which is going to kill it in the enterprise market, but we have to talk about this different. We have to build stuff which is different. And then what I said was, okay, I'm gonna do this for you by doing, by exactly what May said. I brought in the product marketing person in this case. We started creating all kinds of, battle card was existing, but we started creating all kinds of other positioning information for them, which they now started saying, okay, tell a different story to the mid-market. And then they started getting more connections. That's just going to help build a more trusted relationship. They could see how somebody on the product side is basically trying to, fight their struggle. In return, I also got the promise that you're not just going to go out and sell for the heck of selling. You're going to, keep us engaged and keep us, I think, that's, developed a much tighter PMM sales relationship there.
No, and it's interesting. You bring an interesting point. Any last thoughts on the initial question before I pivot? I always feel like I start pivoting to the poll, and then I pull the poll up, and I'm about to talk about it, and somebody goes, "Oh, one more thing," and my transition is off. I just was gonna. Any last thoughts on the? All right. So, Deepro, I thought there's an interesting there because there's something about what we can do for them and the value we can create to them, but there's also the value we can get from collaborating with them. If I'm going on that the way we collaborate with them is to make sure we do our job, what can we get from them to do this? And we asked the question in the poll: where can product management get the most value from collaborating with sales? Insight into new market segments and personas interested in the product, feedback on what's working and what's not in the sales playbook, aggregate insight on what they are seeing and hearing in the market, real-time competitive intelligence from deals, and other it depends. And other it depends one was with 33%. And Calvin sort of came in and said at the end, you know what, Grant, I was looking at number 1 and number 3, but really number 1 is a subset of number 3. And I looked at it, I'm like, gosh, and number 2 is a subset of number 3, and number 4 is a subset of number 3. So I'm going to get this right out of the way. Whatever everybody voted for, I'm going to win because I'm just going to roll them all together. So as we dig into this, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Jason, what did you vote for?
So I voted on, so I agree with all these things, and I've used sales for all of these, but I think I had to go back to what I commonly was interested in from the salespeople. And it was always the aggregate insight of what they're seeing and hearing in the market. So that third one, it was just something that I was always interested in as a product manager, going, all right, what are you seeing versus anything like
Specific
segments and personas? Because I'll find out the personas and segments by going to trade shows and talking to customers, but I can't talk to all of the customers that they're seeing at the time that I'm seeing them, as far as what our market ops are and what challenges they're having currently, because it does come and go, and and so what's hot, and so I do like that portion the most as far as collaborating with them.
In a way, number 3 is almost an all of the above. Everybody asked me for an all of the above. I finally sort of slipped one in disguise, and it won. I guess that's the way to do it. Steve, did you vote?
I did. I voted for the second item, feedback into the sales playbook. I don't consider sales insights to be comprehensive. So their market insights are not valuable to me. But their feedback.
All market insights are valuable to you.
In aggregate.
They're all sources based on their perspectives, and sales has a different perspective. And as long as you understand that, you got to take everything with a grain of salt and use it all as an aggregate.
Put your translation filter on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear you. And yet, research last year found that the 3 worst sources of customer insight or feature recommendations or whatever are salespeople, executives, and the Salesforce portal, the Idea portal. And yet, to the earlier point, salespeople can be very crisp, very clear with me about, hey, this positioning isn't working, or this packaging isn't working, or this sales tool you gave me isn't working. That I can get behind. But when they come in and say, oh, I was doing, hang on, I'll do my rant here. When I was doing sales training, I had just completed a win-loss analysis, and I said, out of 20 deals that we've won, 19 of them have this composition. And Kevin, the world's worst salesperson, said, now wait a minute, I'm talking to a guy that's not in fintech, they're in ed tech, and they don't have 20 systems, they have 2. And I said, well, gosh, good luck with that, because 100% of our losses have been in that category.
Yeah.
Here are the facts, right? So, and yet, in a private conversation, he would come over and say, you need to support this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you're one, but in support of Jason's point, you're one data point. And that one data point is not research. It's
But
it's an
but
anecdote.
yeah, but that's what I was talking about with collaborative on my comment was you have to make sure that your salespeople understand your processes and that you get data points from analysts, from competitive, from going out to the market. If you don't tell them how you work and they don't tell you how they work, then the collaboration's done. If they think that the only way you get your roadmap is if they talk to you, then that's what they think. They don't know any better because you haven't told them.
No, yes, I agree with both of you. Faith, did you vote?
I think I'm familiar. I don't.
You broke up there for a second.
Yeah, I think my connection is a little bit.
I got you now. Did you vote?
I don't think I did vote on this one. This doesn't sound familiar. Where can product management get the most value from collaborating with sales?
Well, read them.
I might have voted on this, but I don't know. I don't remember what I voted.
Okay.
I think maybe it's just the last observed bias, but I'm really, a lot of things Steve mentioned, really resonate with me. We basically 100% of our customer or prospect feedback comes through sales and customer success team.
Yeah.
People don't really understand that I'm doing my own research into the domain. I have other sources of information, and they somehow think that if they don't let me talk to the customers, then somehow I won't know anything except what they give me to know, which is, my reaction to that isn't important, but it does.
Actually, maybe I want to hear your reaction to
that. Well, it's just frustrating, and I think it reveals that people don't really understand what they hire when they hire a product manager, because the slope ends in order taker land, kind of, right? Where people just, hey, we're talking to the customers, we know what they want, we heard somebody wanted this, go make that. And even worse, I've got this big deal, I can make this deal if only you just built this. And over the last couple of years, I've seen situations where we get burnt, and then the company that wanted that thing, who was so eager for that thing, gets impatient, cancel their deal, they don't renew, whatever. Turns out to actually not have been a quality request. We can't sell it to anyone else, but so anyway, that's, I'm sure, not a saga that's new to anyone, but
welcome to topic of the week.
I've been finding it very difficult to get useful, actionable information, and then we're able to get everyone to just kind of channel all those ideas. My first going in position was, let's just not keep a feedback log. It's useless. Let's just not. Well, nobody was really in favor of not making the list in the first place. So I'm like, okay, let's at least get everything into one place. And we adopted a feedback tracking system. And we were able to get everyone, we shut down the Teams channels where people were allowed to post that stuff. And we shut down people sending it over the transom to email and everything else. We got everybody putting all that stuff into the feedback tracking system. I don't think what people were prepared for, though, is that we weren't just taking those cards and just stack ranking them, but that I use them. I try to aggregate the feedback, look for themes, look for root causes, all the things that we do, right? So I think it's been a bit of a surprise to people that then I'll come back and I'll go, okay, so we had these 10 requests and they're all related in this way. And, I validated that we have this many existing customers with this much ARR, and it's an untapped market because of X. And I think that's all been kind of a surprise to the people on the revenue side of the house.
That there's actually somebody who's thinking of these things and thinking strategically about it in the strategic role. No, I get it. Jason put into the chat, right? The times that we've had a salesperson say why they won or lost, and then we do a win-loss call. It's interesting to see the differences, right? Cory, you said you're going to say other. If you understand and know how and what they're selling, it will tell me a lot about what is happening. Talk to me about what you're thinking.
Yeah, so I'm having a thought as this conversation is going on. Is sales is there to do what? They're there to sell somebody who's not a customer into becoming a customer. After that point, their relationship usually ends. Sales doesn't concern themselves with the customer anymore because they're a customer. They don't have to deal with them unless they're going to upsell them or something else. So the people that should be concerned with customers, I think, are product managers or product people, because we have a responsibility and a interest in making sure that the product works for them. It's not about getting it sold. It's about them using the product on a daily basis, solving their problems and doing those things. So what I would like to do with the sales group is say, sales group, here's the people that love our products. They crow about us. They talk about us on Twitter. They go to conferences. They say, have you heard about product X? Because product X is fantastic and it solved these problems for us. I want to get those people and give them a way to talk to salespeople and say to salespeople, go find more customers like this, because these are the people that want our product. You don't have to push it on them. They come to you. They're willing to, shut up and take my money type thing. They love us. They want to buy us. Go take their money.
It's interesting. I was I can't remember the guy's name. Gerald Spohl. He's a UX design expert.
Gerald Spohl.
Yeah, and he just posted about the importance of a hero story, right? And how the hero story is what, when we're doing people, our team wants to understand the hero story, but I think even the customers want to hear it. The salespeople want to have a hero story so they can use that when they go forward doing stuff, because it helps them find those people and helps them tell the story, making the people a hero. Deepro, you said all good points, but you went with other as well. Maybe overlaps with the new market segment. So where's your head?
So the last 3 companies that I worked for, sales was new logos and existing as well. So upsell was just as part of that. So the incentives were different, but I think just understanding not so much on how I can make you, sell to new logos, but more of the friction. So for, one example, even from the mid-market one, was we could sell stuff, but then we had an implementation backlog for like 6 months. And that was such a rub. To Cory's point, the honeymoon's over. We sold it. And now, the salesperson drops off the customer's friend list or whatnot. And now there's a big void. So that's kind of where, I kind of like help bridge the gap as to, okay, let's talk to services. Let's figure out how can we quicken that, or somebody has to own the relationship when, you can't just have a time frame when no one's talking to that customer. They just onboarded. So what can we do there? And what we tried experimenting here was go invite them to some webinars that we're doing, because they're technically a customer at this point. They haven't started using the features. And I actually opened up webinars to the new features we were launching to them, saying, hey, you're going to get all these values. So that got them interested. And sales kind of, like that approach. So I think, just understanding how can I help and, brainstorming different ways.
So collaborating with them to understand how you can help.
Yep.
I love that. May, how'd you vote?
It was a process of elimination, I think. I voted for number 2. And the reason is that insights into new market segments, you don't get that from sales. Okay. You're just going to put that out there, because I feel like they're not going to do the right kinds of research to identify a new market segment. And then aggregate insight, I've always found that customer success, support, and services gives me a lot better insights into what's working, or what's actually working. And real-time competitive intelligence almost always comes from marketing. So I feel like feedback on what is working. So going back to the packaging point, I spent years of my life working on packaging. That is oftentimes in the large enterprise why things aren't working actually. And also what's not working in the sales playbook will tell you what's wrong with your positioning, and what's wrong with your positioning could also be a symptom of like, we're not focusing in the right places, or we're not telling the right story, right? So I think in terms of specifically the most value from sales, I would say the second one. I really don't like using the fifth option unless if I vehemently disagree with everything else. So it's number 2.
And you know what? You've just gotten me to change my vote.
Yes.
I believe. Sorry, Jason. I think feedback on what's working, what is not in the sales playbook is what really works for me. Steve made the case too. So both of you guys helped convince me of that. And I think Deepro actually, even though he voted other, came around to that one in the conversation.
And I think so the way we have a new product team. By new product team, I mean we've had 100% turnover in the last year. As in we went from 2 people on the product team, now we have 11. It's like it's really, really intense. But what's happening is every time we do strategy, every time we do road mapping, before we do anything, our VP goes to all of the counterparts. So she goes and talks to sales, she goes and talks to marketing and all the other leads to make sure that we're on the same page and our strategies are aligned. And so this actually helps us to make sure we're pushing in the right direction, that, our roadmap gets buy-in before we even talk about the roadmap. It's worked really, really well. I mean, it doesn't work in every single organization. If you have people who just, on principle disagree, that's not going to work. But if you are in an organization where this is something that's happening and it works, then like try it. It's amazing because we're getting very little pushback. We're more getting constructive feedback on when we present a roadmap, and it's just night and day, right? Like it goes back to, I don't remember who was talking about building trust. I think it was Jason. But like it's about, it's all about building trust. If they trust you, then like everything we're talking about here actually starts working. And if you don't, then well, past experiences.
Well, then you just gave me an answer to that question. How can you successfully get sales to understand the value of true collaboration with product management?
I'm sorry, I jumped the gun.
That's okay. It's not like we got a ton of time. So I'm glad somebody answered the question first. But how can you get sales to understand the value of collaboration? Cory, you talked about, right? If sales has the relationship, they win. If product has a relationship, we win. How do you get sales to realize that, they need product having the relationship is going to actually help them in the end?
The answer I keep coming back to, and I'm sorry to have a hammer here, but change their incentives.
Yeah. No, I thought you were going to say you can't. They never will.
No, you can. It's unlikely you're going to get companies to change their incentives. So good luck with that. But that's what you should be trying to do.
I completely and totally agree.
I said my sales would just lower the costs in a deal to get the profitability up and still keep the price down.
So how would you help them understand the value of
get sales to understand the value of true collaboration? I have to tell them that what their activities do to provide again, going back to the input, that what they're doing helps me deliver products so that the market wants to buy. I know that's not a market facing thing, but I'm talking to all my salespeople about all of their deals. So they have to feel like they have an involvement into the growth of the company when it comes to that collaboration for me. But there's so many like nuances to how I work with sales. It's really hard for me to put an exact point on it.
I like that. Deepro, what's your thoughts on this?
Um, um, I'll give you an example here, and I don't know how to best to describe it in words, but maybe the example will help. So the mid-market product, the price point was 25K, but there was opportunity for us to package that with something else, and that something else was a higher priced product. So what ended up happening was your additive was more pricier than the core product. There was friction, and what I did was I got the other product manager to agree and cut some discounts and whatnot on that deal with the consensus. And we did our due diligence, and we figured that if we land somehow with that, we can actually grow and expand into a much bigger situation. So sales found that as an interesting thing, because somebody outside of sales actually kind of went and made it happen for them, enable them to ink that deal ultimately.
So by showing them that, by helping them see how they can take a smaller opportunity and make it to a bigger opportunity that may have more differentiation, now they're going to want to work with you because you've given them success.
Yes, I can help you get to your numbers and beyond is my
actually, I love that idea, is that we can help you get to your numbers because we understand the market and the products and how you can sell them and that type of stuff. Steve, do you have a take on how do we get them to collaborate better or value the true collaboration with us? You're on mute.
It is interesting to me that some of us have an adversarial relationship with salespeople, and others of us, usually not the same people, have an adversarial relationship with developers. And what I have certainly found is it's better to have friends than adversaries. In jobs in the past, I have made friends with the sales team and heard what they had to say and found myself often explaining, here's how a bill becomes a law. This is how the sausage gets made, and they're largely unaware of it. When you're at the center of the universe, where else? Who else is there, right? And I had one that was particularly interesting. I was presenting the roadmap to the sales team, and somebody stood up and said, where's my feature? Wah, wah, wah. And I said, well, priorities, blah, 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 blah. And he would let me go. And finally I said, you know what? Fine. If everybody else agrees, I'll move that feature up to the next sprint. And then the fight broke out because everybody wanted their favorite thing in the next sprint, not this guy's favorite thing. And it became really interesting for everyone there to experience this juggling act we have in the world of democracy, right? So I try to build bridges with developers, and I try to build the same bridges with salespeople. And ultimately, I rely on product management to be the experts on the markets and their problems instead of asking salespeople. And one more little rant at, I was doing a roles and responsibilities thing, and there was one person in the room who, anytime we talked about the market or the customer, they said, oh, sales does that. And I finally said, no, you simply don't understand. Salespeople are tasked with selling what we have to people who want to buy it. Everything else is a distraction from them achieving their goal.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're going to get into our lightning round. Deepro, this is new for you, so it's going to be a word or short phrase, because it is lightning this time, on as a product leader, what is your advice to a new product manager on collaborating with sales? And on Deepro, I'm going to start with you. Word or 2 words. Advice to a new product manager on collaborating with sales.
You both are on the same side.
Okay, you're on the same team. I love that. Cory.
Listen. Just listen to them talk, listen to what they say, listen to how they say it, listen to what's important to them. Just listen. You may not agree with it, but understand it.
Cory made an easy 1-word lightning round answer into a whole sentence and paragraph. May Wong.
Be wary of your time.
That's a good one.
I like that.
Don't do that.
Ja- Jason Vincelette.
Let's go from May. Yeah, they do time suck. I would say understand their processes.
Okay. My friend Steve.
Well, I was going to go back to that friend thing again, but I've decided instead to say support the sales team, never the salesperson.
Ooh, support the team, not the person.
Love that one, Steve. It's good.
I'm going to go.
They come and go anyway. So
They do. They do. I'm going to go back to, I think it was Jason who said, or maybe it was Cory. Understand their motivation, right? Understand how they get paid and help them understand that. I always found, yes, Cory, I'm making it a thunder too. I always found that if I could help the first sales guy or two sales guys get the commission from the new product and they could show people the commission check, it helped other people. So if I can help them succeed and get their commission check, I would be successful with that. What a great conversation. I know I say that every week and I say that every week, but a great panel. Deepro, welcome to the world of topic of the week. We hope you continue. And I learned, it was a great conversation on sales collaboration with product management. I changed my opinion on some things as we did this call, as I do every week. And we do this every week in the community. Monday, the question goes in. Jason used to know what to think about for the week. I don't think he does anymore. He doesn't know. He doesn't use the question to know what to think about. Wednesday, we get the poll. And Friday, we have these amazing conversations. So Deepro, thank you for your first time. May, Jason, Cory, my friend and partner, Steve, thank you so much for a wonderful conversation. We'll see you next week in the community.